Recently, when talking to a Christian, I was told that I would have no excuse come Judgment Day for my unbelief and would be directed accordingly to the correct portal of entry. I said, well, I may not be the one that needs an excuse. I'm not sure. And this person said to me, well, what do you think you would say to God? Are you going to stand there and ask why he didn't give you more signs or something like this? And you realize how futile that will be. And this is a question that atheists are quite often confronted with. And it usually gets to the point where they say, well, what would you say in defense of your unbelief? What do you think you're going to say to God that's going to be effective? And I say, well, as I understand it, if I'm an unbeliever, or as the Christians would say, I choose not to love the truth, then God is going to send me a strong delusion so that I will stay, I'm essentially, my fate is sealed at that point, that I'm going to stay in my unbelief. In fact, it will reinforce my unbelief. It's also in my understanding that quite often the unbelief itself is fostered by the lies of Satan, to hear Christians say it. So they say that you've chosen to believe the lies of Satan over the love of the truth. Now, of course, this is problematic for several reasons. For one, I can't choose to believe lies, not if I've correctly identified them as lies. So what we really are talking about here is believing something that I've mistaken to be the truth. And of course, you're also further presenting that this is propagated by a fictional entity that you've not demonstrated exists in the very first place. And that once I've chosen to believe these lies, apparently, that God is going to send me a strong delusion, which again effectively seals my fate and prevents me from ever coming to the quote-unquote truth. And eventually the conversation gets to the attempt to aid in salvation. Oh, but God loves you and he wants you to come to him, etc., etc. And I ask the question, how fruitful do you think you're going to be here if I've already been sent this strong delusion? I mean, ultimately what we're talking about here is a pretty powerless being in between two very powerful entities. One arguably, obviously, far more powerful than the other, but I'm not as powerful as Satan. And if he's going to manipulate me and the other guy isn't going to kind of step in and correct things a little bit, I'm probably pretty much putty in his hands. And of course, likewise, there's no way that I'm going to be able to overcome a strong delusion sent by the omnipotent, omniscient creator of everything. So my fate is effectively sealed at that point. And so the answer that I gave, which I've not often heard given by anybody else, is that I said, if your God really, really did love me, perhaps instead of sending me a strong delusion, he could send me a strong conviction. That'd make a little more sense. Thanks for watching.